Professor Sket is a professor of history and sociology, product manager at Verlag Dashofer, volunteer at DCA Ljubljana, and volunteer at Divja Misel. And he will introduce the career promotion of public employee for equal creation of wealth. Mihael, the floor is yours.
Thank you. My lecture will have these parts. First, I will introduce two systems. One is this political system that developed some social model, and then how is it this social model now taken in recent time by economic system, and what are the possibilities for the development. I will look at the role of public employee in this political system, and what the performance measurement of public employee can bring to manage the goals of this political system that would bring some to new social model. And I would example this performance management of public employee for Slovenian army. I made an interview with an employee. So these two systems are first, one is this economical system that is recently dominating. This is global networks, and they work through taxation policies, regional and investment policies, and global equity transfer. So these are their actions that intervene with domain of political system, and the power of these global networks in these fields is interfering with the state government power. And this political system differs from this economical system at the moment, is that this economical system, so this means these global networks, are connecting more through new technologies and informatizations, and these technologies does not create hierarchies, so they actually work in a different way that is different from the way that political system is used. So in political systems, generally, employees execute power in processes that are defined by legislation, separation of powers, and level of hierarchy. And about one difference in orientation, economic system, so these global networks is reacting more and more on demand of customers, so it's focusing on frontline. The strategies are getting maybe behind, and this frontline in time action is getting ahead, and political system has policy goals that are implementing by addressing beneficiaries, so not customers, but beneficiaries, interest groups, voters, active citizens. How was this political system that also brings this social security model developed? It was developed like through Swedish social partnership model in 30s of 20th centuries. The problem was there, this is historical, that there was first antagonisms between the farmers and workers about prices of nutrition. There were different interests, but they negotiated about this, and the consensus was reached. Then next consensus was reached about wages on enterprise and sector levels, and workers were then not so much interested in further distribution as their wages were enough solid. Then corporation and entrepreneurs were ensured to retain their profit, and this stimulate reinvestments to more productive enterprises. And the owners and capitalists were interested to invest more in their enterprises. And the the party that was leading was Swedish SIP party, and it managed to balance interests of trade unions and industry, and also farmers. So this situation also gives social peace, and in these 40s and further of the 20th century, Swedish public government could develop enough knowledge to introduce social programs to redistribution of income to unemployed or poor, and to prevent abuse of the social system. So these all elements create this social state system. And this system can be preserved because of participation of workers, prevent also the elites from usurpating the power as it was in some other countries other way. But then, of course, after so much years, there was this globalization process that changed and bring this economical system that now offers also the solutions to other problems, but this situation is not maybe sustainable, as you will see. So globalization brought lower production costs and modern technologies and automatization and informatization. And this all changed the balance for capital against workers. So the most excessive change was in financial sector in the last 40 years, maybe, that also finished with this financial crisis 15 years ago, because this financial sector really grew very unproportionally. It was 5% of all the GDP derived from this sector, and now, and later 2007, 8% of GDP in USA derived from this financial sector, and its profit grew 800%. That is very, very rapid growth. So this type of growth and development by economical system, global system deprived other sectors of sources of innovation, and indicator is that the productivity in the last 2 decades is not as fruitful as it was in time of this active welfare state, as we saw when the industrial capitalists invest to increase productivities and worker gain from the prosperity. What is the future? And here comes to the role of also the state, the new role of the state, and from this the public employee. So the new coalitions should be one with the vision and ideas, and this coalition should be of different stakeholders and should plan institutional innovations. So general solutions as social security in Sweden can be made in times of this economic and social changes. So like just as at this moment, maybe, because they demand widely outlined programs and bring together this great coalition. In this time, workers could struggle to gain more from investment and from education, from inclusive labor market and higher minimum wages. So this should be in this free agreement, free per treat agreement, where state should be in the middle or somewhere between enterprises and workers. And this, the tools of states can be just to give more investment in research or development, in this basic research and development, and also this should be aimed to increase productivity, but this productivity would create new opportunities for skilled workers to contribute themselves, so to be more active in this process. And this enterprises would have now more opportunities, as we see that their productivity for last 20 years was actually not growing so as expected, maybe. Or it was growing just in some sectors that are really not socially so much important as other sectors that are not so economically successful. What should this public employee now in this environment, which is global, and with these networks that are global, and that also individuals can work from one country, work from employer in totally other part of the world, and their customer is on third part of the world. So how can one public employee now do, in the name of his national state, maybe something in this situation, as we see, if there is a three-party process. So there is a need for a social system that would enable harmony between expert development and use of knowledge for creation of wealth. So this system could balance different interests of stakeholders in process of social agreement, and the role of public employees to stand by in process of negotiations between partners. And also his role is to found with sources growth of education for growth and productivity, growth of productivity and quality of life. So one model that was actually taken in most in Commonwealth countries like New Zealand, Australia, Great Britain, was that the governmental sector was following the initiative of market sectors, how to behave, how should public employee behave due to goals of policy goals. So it was, we will see in table how this influence on role of public employee in addressing policies, government policies. These approaches were taken from government, but they were actually started in economic systems. So they were copying basically successful companies in some ways. So in these companies, they have these like how to say, these rules, like workers following on results, focusing on results will be more productive. Self-management and self-organizations are leading educated and articulated worker into development of productivity. System of constant improvements will enable the transfer of experience and distribution of knowledge from one person to other. These are all very topics that are promoting enterprises, and now also for the last 20 years, also the government. Feedback on behavior and results in connection with achievement of goals and person and organization is provided by management. So management gives employee feedback about his results, and this is also more for motivation than for some other. So here, in this table, I will just maybe briefly tell that that maybe the government sector has basically these strengths that enterprises don't have. They are more have more basic resources and approach to information, and enterprises can find more accurate information on markets. So, but the risk is that public employee, in the name of the governmental sector, can quickly show that like he's achieving the goals, but actually there is not, nobody can really how to say, control this. So in private sector, organizations can also, on the other hand, have very narrow performance indicators, and they can just pick what is valued, and they can pick just their clients and achieve the success with clients that are chosen. So weaknesses for the government sector.
Maybe let's have 2 more minutes. Okay.
Okay. So okay, I will just jump this maybe and go to here it's in this slide. I would just like to say that this, if we want to achieve the goals, we can we manage the performance, but the methodology or the way how to measure the performance can actually change the action. So it's not this action is just measured. Performance of actions are measured, but these tools can actually be used to change the action. So it's the problem is that when organization or government handling the complexity, these tools can help to handle the complexity, but with mastering these tools, there can be also other ways. So these tools can also help to decrease the complexity. So this is maybe to create some virtual world that the organization is operating in, but actually it's not relying to the reality. So this problem is then presented maybe more further. So here I want to this slide I would like to just to maybe say that this in this the enterprises find that their approach with this goal setting and performance measurement is actually not so much successful, and not so successful, but so much relevant for them. And they found that the new thing, like they said, now it's not agents theory, now it's a stewardship theory, and that they say in enterprises like a big enterprise like Microsoft, now we will not basically score our employees, but we will be their, how to say, mentor or their coach. So manager is now more coaching the employees as really commanding them. And actually we see that the public sector also make this analysis and said, yeah, this performance measurement that we make 20 years was maybe not so so fruitful as we thought. So actually, the public sector is still copying the new approaches of enterprises. So is this also enough to address the problems I at the beginning exposed? The problem that economic system is gaining the command. So it is not enough. So I will just give an example of this. So we have in public sector in Slovenia, we have all public sector employees are rated annually. They get rates, and from these rates they promote it horizontally, and their wages is a little bit higher from this. So is this method that is actually the same as it was in enterprises, but now enterprises are changing this method? This for public sector good enough? Well, this person I talk with is from Army, and he says the problem he sees is when employees are graded with marks every year, and this influences their wages. They will just talk between themselves, and they will be very unsatisfied where their colleague will get better grades and better wages, because they think this is subjective and it's not proper. So after that, all the most of superiors just give to all the employees the best grades there is. So this system is actually not very working. So I will just make the conclusion. The comparisons show that public sector performance management is still following the development of private sector performance measurement. Public sector searches for opportunity of coaching for replacement of evaluative assessment. As shown of example of Slovenian Army Force, there are unwritten components of the appraisal process that define the quality of satisfaction of employees with it. To manage the quality of this process is the first step. So public sector should change this how to approach to employees evaluation. And this, as we have seen in our research, in this century, employees is in crossroads of transformational process, and the public employee can gear towards a social system that would develop harmony between expert development and utilization of knowledge for creation of wealth. This would be the second step of development of performance management for public employee, and that would follow this specific goal.